Yo, this is the Christopher Complex. How you doing again? For another evening of Good Evening Grinders. Check it out. So, man, earlier today I was thinking about some things that I was reading, listening to, playing. Forgive me, I'm a little sick, but we still got to get it going. So, if you hear me cough, just have to do a Good Evening Grinders. It has everything to do with Good Evening Grinders, because if you can't lead yourself, then you cannot lead your organization. So as you grind, and you might be listening to this and you might be saying, well, Chris, what you going to give me tonight? What I'm going to give you tonight is a little bit of a talk on leadership, something I was listening to. And it was basically talking about stages of leadership. First stage is, how do you lead yourself? How do you encourage yourself, educate yourself? How do you develop yourself? That way you can become a good leader to others. Because if you can lead yourself, you can obviously lead others. So yeah, you might be sitting there grinding on your project and saying, okay, this project's going to get done. It's going to be dope. Or you may be sitting there saying, how am I going to get this project done? And that has a lot to do with leadership. And you have to know how to get yourself off the couch. You have to know how to tell yourself, this is the direction we're going. We're going to burn the boats because we're going to take the island tonight. We are never going to look back. We're going to get to our destination. We're going to act like a plane and take off and arrive at our destination on time. And leadership is one component that you need in order to get that done. So, again, you have to know how to lead yourself. And how do you do that? You do that by learning how to become a leader. Now, that whole saying of leaders are born and not made, that's not true. You can learn to lead. It's as simple as, well, how do I learn to lead? I never been a leader before. You got to get to the point where you just say, I'm going to change that. That's leadership right there. And then in that instance. So, what I mean by this, committing to changing why you're not a leader is leadership, or a characteristic of leadership. You have to learn to become a leader. You can do that by reading. You can do that by modeling. You can do that by interacting with those that are leaders and following some of their characteristics and their traits, the successful things that they do. Autobiographies, like some people will say, man, autobiographies and reading, nonfiction or unfun books is stupid, or I just can't get into it. Well, maybe if you don't get into it is the reason why you're still stuck in the position that you're in. So if you ever see in the Barnes and Nobles or a bookstore and somebody write a book about Abraham Lincoln and you're like, who's going to read that? The person is trying to become a better leader in the organization, in their life, in their family, would read that. Because maybe, besides the historical points of it, he'll say, well, how did Lincoln lead in this situation? How did Martin Luther King or Malcolm X lead? How did Jesus, how did Buddha, how did these people lead? What was their philosophy? How did they learn to do that? Most of those leaders learned over time what good leadership was. Now, we admire them because, we see that hero's journey. Maybe we see how they accomplished that, how they got over their trials and their tribulations. So going back to Good Evening Grinders and what this is all about, you're grinding tonight, or you could be, well, for instance, take it into this context. It's Saturday night. Most people will be like, man, I'm chilling. I ain't doing nothing Saturday. There's some other people that you admire. Let's take Sean Puffy Combs. I guarantee you, somewhere in the background, Sean Puffy Combs is probably partying right now, but he is working at the same time too. There's a lot of people that work constantly, non-stop, especially when you on the ground floor, such as myself or whatever. We have to constantly work. So I'm working on this podcast because there's some things I thought about in my life, and I'm like, I need to create a new chapter or prep for the new chapter. I also need to be aware of what new direction and technology is. So if everything is going to voice and AI, this is my voice section. I know that this podcast is probably going to take a couple of years to get off, maybe get the followers that I need. But this is Saturday night. When I was 14 years old, I used to write songs on a Saturday night. I didn't think about Saturday night. I just thought about I need to be a songwriter. Now I am one, and I use songwriting to the ability or in the ways that I want to use it. So let's just take Saturday. Would you lead yourself on a Saturday to get your project done? Or on a Sunday? Would you lead yourself at any time or any given day to do what you got to do to get your project done, to get your goal done? Because again, I need you to do your goal. Like for instance, did you start something and you didn't finish it because you got all of these rules? Another thing that I was looking at or listening to earlier today in that same article that has a lot to do with leadership is evaluation. And how do you evaluate things and yourself? Through those evaluations, we learn how to decide and make the decisions that will influence and affect our lives forever. We can change how our course of life goes, but in those evaluations comes those decisions. You may evaluate Saturday as a day to party and play, maybe because you work Monday through Friday. Some people may evaluate Saturday as just another day or a day to get some things done because it's more time for you to accomplish your dreams and your goals and get it done. You may evaluate Sunday as, well, that's a day of worship. I'm not going to do anything unless it's got to do with my day of worship. If you look in the scriptures, it'll tell you need to constantly work if your house is not in order. So I just wanted to come at you and let me wrap it up like this. I know a lot of times I ramble. So what the hell am I saying? One, if you're grinding, hustling, working on your project, as you're getting that going, you have to teach yourself to be a leader. Take some courses on leadership. Read about how other leaders have done some things. You need to also think about how you evaluate certain things, because the way you evaluate things, when you get to the point where you need to present and get the next thing done in your project, you may not be able to get the next thing done because how you evaluate stuff. And how you evaluate stuff is how you make a decision on what you need to do. And all of that may hinder you from getting your project, your goal, your dream done. I had to make some changes. And one of them I'll give you that most people have a hard time with is the ego. I had to tell my ego to get out of the way and do some grimy, dirty stuff. Stuff meaning things that I used to think, well, I'm past, I'm beyond, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to, clean a building to make money. I'm not going to, maybe chauffeur somebody around or whatever however you evaluate stuff. You may need to do that just to get the money to put more advertising behind your social media. You may need to change how you evaluate things, because when you change that, it's going to give you the ability to have more resources to push forward and move on your project, your goal, your dream, your aspiration. So, wrap it up one more time. If you're grinding on something, start learning about leadership. You're going to need that. You're going to need to learn how to lead yourself. Once your project is done and your project starts to blow up, you're going to create an organization. You need to learn how to lead that organization. You need to learn how to lead the leader that you're going to put in charge of that organization behind that product that you're creating. You're going to be stopped, hindered, and most likely from yourself based on your evaluations. You may need to do some things that you don't want to do to get your project going forward, such as getting your ego out of the way and how your ego evaluates certain things. You may need to rid of yourself of that. And lastly, based on your evaluations and be what your decisions are kind of like based on. Basically, this is all about leadership. I'll get into it in depth in the regular podcast, but this is a good evening grinders moment, and I just wanted to bring that to you. So if you're out there grinding and you're listening, keep on grinding. Grab a handful of wheat, get your grinding stone, and keep on grinding. Even if it's Saturday night and it's beautiful out, just grind. You can grind on the phone while you're waiting on your dinner. Well, don't do that, but you know what I'm saying. Pull somebody to the side. Let's say if you're waiting online, just say, hey, I'm going to text a couple of things or promote a couple of my songs while we standing here, because this mobile device is keeping me connected. You know what I'm saying. It's the Christopher Complex. You can hit me up at the Chris Complex on Twitter. Go to ChristopherComplex.com. You can see some stuff that we got going on there. And check out the podcast. Subscribe and share. Please subscribe. This is going to grow into something that's going to be for you. I'm going to bring value to you as best as I possibly can through interviews, insight, and just being